We're going to learn a part of the Maimer Vehaya Bayom Hahu. We'll continue by first recapping what we learned up until now and learning a little bit more. Today's Erev Yom Kippur. Everyone should have a Chasima Nagmar, Chasima Tova, so we'll have a shorter point just in order to keep up the learning. The basic idea of the Maimer up until now, the Rebbe's questions on the Pasuk. Vehaya Bayom Hahu Yitoka b'shofar gadol. On that day when Mashiach comes, there will be blown a big shofar, and the two main questions is why do we say a big shofar? What's the necessity for a big shofar? And why do we talk about it being blown on its own as if there's no one blowing it, or in a sense that there is no one blowing it? And in order to explain this, we explain the general idea of shofar. Shofar is not speaking, it's not singing, it's not playing musical instruments. It's blowing from the very essence of one's being. When one blows, it's not defined by any specific intellect or emotion or anything else. It's pure, raw essence. The essence of the person is what comes out. And in a similar sense, when we blow the shofar, when a person brings out their essence, which is the very essence of the neshama, which is beyond intellect, beyond emotions, beyond any type of actions, positive or negative. It's the essence which is it, what it really is. That connects and that draws down and brings about the essence of Hashem. The essence of Hashem, which is also not defined, not godly energy that's limited into specific definition, but rather the very essence of godliness, His essence of who He is, what He is. Which that is the whole purpose and the whole point of when Hashem created the world. It doesn't come from a defined level of godliness, but it comes from the very essence of godliness. Because it's the desire, the tainug, the pleasure that Hashem has in creation in a physical, material world is not defined by neither spiritual nor physical. It's what Hashem wants because that's what He wants, because that's where the pleasure and the desire of Hashem is. And the concept of blowing shofar is to draw out, to reveal the essence of the creation, the essence of the world, which is one with the essence of godliness. When the shofar is blown on Rosh Hashanah, or the shofar that was blown by Matan Torah, it wasn't a shofar gadol, it wasn't a big shofar, it was just a shofar. The shofar is the source from the material, the most material part of the animal. It's the source through which that essence is revealed. It's not even the revelation of the essence, it's something deeper, it's the source through which it's revealed. The shofar of Har Sinai, the shofar of Rosh Hashanah is a regular shofar. That source that reveals the essence is something which is regular, meaning that it's connected, it has some type of connection to the physical and spiritual worlds. On the other hand, the shofar, and the reason for this is because who does it have to arouse? Someone who came to hear it, someone who's connected to it, someone who has some type of feeling for it. The shofar of Mashiach has to arouse and has to reveal the essence in every single Jew, regardless of where they are, of which far-flung corner of the world they are. Whether it's Asher, riches, whether material riches, which cause a person to forget about the truths of spirituality, about a deeper and real, true reality, or whether it's spiritual riches that cause a person to think that my definition and my connection and my understanding and my spiritual achievement is what it's all about, and forget the essence of Hashem, the reality of the world that is Hashem and nothing else. And similarly also Mitzrayim, those who are far flung in the nether corners of Mitzrayim, which is the constraints of the world. the nisayon, the test of poverty, material poverty that causes a person to be in desperation, or spiritual poverty where the person doesn't recognize anything about Hashem. How are these people aroused and awakened? They don't even have any connection whatsoever, seemingly. Their essence has to be awakened. For that there needs to be a shofar gadol, a great shofar, a big shofar which is beyond and above. It's the very essence of Hashem which is not confined in any which way to the physical world, which is something that generally is also revealed on Yom Kippur. The shofar gadol, or at least a foretaste of it, in a certain way even more than Rosh Hashanah, because Yom Kippur is when the very essence of a Jew is revealed, and his oneness, the Yechida, the way a Jew is one with Hashem, in every aspect of his life, throughout all the 5 tefillas of Yom Kippur. Ma'ariv, which is Nefesh, Shachris, which is Ruach, Musaf, which is Chaya, Mincha, which is Neshama, and deeper than all is Ne'ilah, which is Yechida. But the whole day it's the Yechida of that aspect, the oneness, the spark of godliness, the Itzumah Shel Yom, the essence of the day, not something that takes a sin and atones it, something that brings a person to a level where there is no sin. Until finally that's revealed in its purity in Ne'ilah, when all the gates are locked and the only thing that exists is a Jew and Hashem and nothing else. As it says in the Zohar, that shows on the time of B'chol Adam, Lo Yiyeh B'ayel Mayed, the time when the Kohen Gadol comes in to the Kodesh HaKodashim, that even angels can't be there. And this is revealed in the Ilah of Yom Kippur, and then later by the Akafis of Simchas Torah. The oneness, that there is nothing else but a Jew and Hashem. And nothing else in the world, not even angels, not even the highest spiritual levels exist. That's the shofar gadol, the great shofar. But even more than that and deeper, and when it will be fully revealed in the time of Mashiach, when that shofar gadol that's above the world will be revealed, something that reveals and brings out the essence in every single Jew, no matter how far flung he is. That's the shofar gadol. But the question that the Rebbe asked in the Maimer is 1 second. How could it be that shofar gadol, we can understand why it should be Yitoka on its own, because it's above names. It's above any definition, anything that can define Hashem in any which way, which is even the greatest and the highest of Hashem's names, are still a way of defining Him. It's the essence that's above a name. And in fact, it's Yitoka, it's as if it happens on its own, because it's beyond any type of word that can define it, that can say this is what it is. It's something which is Yitoka, it's above everything. But on the other hand, the whole point of Rosh Hashanah is that Hashem wanted that everything should come through the avodah of a person. That's why Rosh Hashanah is on the 6th day of creation, the creation of man. The whole point of everything in the world, of the coming of Mashiach, is that it has to come through Maseinu V'Avedaseinu, through our actions, through our avodah. What is there that we can do that prepares us for this great day of Yitoka b'shofar gadol, if it's something that happens on its own? And in order to explain this, as we learned yesterday, the Rebbe explained the idea that what the Rebbe Marash says, that a shofar is narrow on one side and it's wide on the other side. The greatest breadth, the greatest abundance of spiritual energy comes from the constraint min ha-meitzar, from a state of being of total meitzar, of total constraints. And like the Baal Shem Tov explains and the Maggid explains, that when a poor man davens, he's not looking for any type of revelation, he's not looking for any specific thing. All he wants is the essence of the King, the essence of Hashem. The essence of his being is poured out in prayer, and what he wants is the essence of Hashem. What brought him there? His meitzar, his tightness, his hardship. To understand this, maybe a drop better. The Rebbe explains on the idea of why don't we blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah when it comes out on Shabbos, which is one of the things that's brought in this Maimer, although this Maimer wasn't said or given out on a year that Rosh Hashanah came out on Shabbos, but it's the concept of shofar that can be understood based on why we don't blow shofar Rosh Hashanah which comes out on Shabbos. And the Rebbe asks over there a similar question. If the whole point of Rosh Hashanah was just that Hashem becomes king in the world, so we say on Shabbos it's not necessary. On Shabbos Hashem becomes king on his own because the level of Shabbos already reveals it. What's Shabbos? Shabbos is Kodesh. Shabbos is Mikacha V'Kaima. It's holy on its own. We know that we say Mekadesh HaShabbos. Hashem sanctifies the Shabbos. V'Yisrael v'Hazmanim. The Jewish people, they're the ones who sanctify the times and the Yom Tovim. But Shabbos doesn't have a Tfisas Yidei Adam. A person doesn't have reach with his hands, with his actions to the Shabbos. A person can only draw pleasure to the Shabbos, but he can't sanctify the Shabbos. The Shabbos is sanctified from above. It has no connection to a person's actions. Yom Tov, Oichel Nefesh is allowed. You can cook on Yom Tov. A person has some connection to the Yom Tov. A person creates and makes the Yom Tov, but not Shabbos. Shabbos comes on its own. Well, Shabbos is Tainug, it's the pleasure. But if Shabbos comes on its own, and it creates the fact that Hashem should become king, and therefore there's no need for shofar, isn't that the opposite of the whole point of Rosh Hashanah, that things have to happen through the avoid of a person, of the tachten, of the person down here? Kablu malchusa, imru lefanei malchis. Hashem wants us to be the ones to make him king. And the Rebbe answers an amazing point. The not blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah when it's on Shabbos is not a passive lack of blowing shofar. It's an act of not blowing shofar. We don't blow shofar. That bittul, that nullification that we don't blow shofar, that we say because it's Shabbos, and because there's a chash, there's a question of maybe some type of chilul Shabbos could come out of it. We're ready to give up the greatest and highest concept of blowing shofar. That is a bittul, that's a subservience that comes from the person, which causes us to be accepting Hashem as king through our passiveness, in a way that's even deeper than when we accept Hashem through our action. The whole concept of shofar is the meitzar. The whole concept of shofar is that it's not any type of intellect, emotion, etc. It's the essence of the person. But the essence of the person is brought out even more when for Hashem, I'm not going to blow shofar. Similar to the idea by Kiddushin, we know that Hashem is like the husband and the Jewish people are like the wife. When the man says, Hareyat mekudeshes li, Hakala shoisekes. The kala, the bride, remains silent. Also over here the Rebbe explains that silence in Nigla and Halacha, that silence is not a passive silence, it's an active silence. It's that silence more than even the words of the chassan that consummate the marriage. It's that silence that completes the kinyan, that completes the acquisition and the connection between the man and wife. Because it's silence. It's the fact of not speaking, of not saying. That's a full acceptance. An acceptance which is stronger than action. Shtika kaidah. That's what we do when we don't blow shofar on Shabbos, but in a certain sense, that's also what the blowing shofar is all about when we do blow shofar. And the Yitoka b'shofar gadol is like the Shabbos shofar. It's one which comes on its own, but it's not on its own without our action. It's on its own, but something that's aroused by the meitzar, by the constraints of the oivdim and the nidachim of those who are far flung. Those who are in the tightest situation physically and spiritually. Their tight situation that causes a bittul, a subservience to Hashem. That's what draws about, that's what brings about that great shofar. That's what brings about a shofar that's above the world. That's a shofar gadol that's beyond the limitations and the definition of the world, because it comes through a inaction. It comes through a total bittul, through a total meitzah, through a feeling of tight and hardship, through a feeling of just not even knowing how to define my desire and cry out to Hashem. That's the shofar gadol, which is connected both to Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, but mostly shofar gadol of Mashiach, which Mitzvah Hashem will continue to explain next time.